The night was bitterly cold, with snow falling in thick, relentless sheets, coating the streets in a pristine, almost blinding white. In the midst of this winter chaos, Jamal Hayes, a tall, reserved man in his early 40s, gripped the steering wheel of his Jeep tightly as he navigated the slippery roads, his breath fogged in the dim glow of the dashboard lights. Tonight was supposed to be just another quiet evening at home, but fate had other plans. Minutes earlier he had received a frantic call, a woman stranded on a side road, her car buried in snow, and no one else around to help. As a single dad, Jamal knew the value of compassion. Despite his own weariness, he had responded without hesitation. There was something about helping others, even strangers, that thawed a part of him frozen by years of disappointment and heartache. When he reached the scene, he saw her, a woman in her late 20s, shivering violently, wrapped in a thin jacket that did little to protect her from the storm. Her eyes, wide and panicked, reflected the swirling snowflakes like a mirror of fear. Without hesitation, Jamal jumped from the Jeep, dug through the snow, and guided her to the warmth of his vehicle. "Thank you. I didn't think anyone would come," she stammered, her voice trembling, teeth chattering. "You're safe now. Just hang on," he replied, his voice firm but gentle. There was an unspoken connection in that moment, two souls briefly intertwined in a harsh, unyielding world. As he started the Jeep and drove them away from danger, the tension of the storm outside seemed to seep into their conversation. They spoke in halting sentences at first. Then slowly, the ice in their words melted, revealing a shared vulnerability. Jamal was careful, protective, and commanding yet patient, while she, Emily, revealed subtle hints of a complicated life behind her shy demeanor. Little did Jamal know, the storm outside was not the only tempest brewing that night. A new type of confrontation awaited, one that would challenge not just his morality, but his patience, his trust, and his sense of justice. Jamal's life had never been easy. Once a promising architect, he had poured his soul into his career, only to watch it crumble when the firm he worked for went bankrupt during the economic collapse. His marriage had ended shortly after. Betrayal and misunderstanding had fractured his family, leaving him a single father to his 12-year-old daughter, Mia. In the quiet moments of the night he often felt like a ghost haunting his own life, present yet disconnected. Love had become a luxury he believed he could no longer afford. Emily's life, in contrast, appeared orderly, but was no less complicated. Beneath her polished exterior and polite smiles lay scars from a tumultuous past, a toxic relationship, a career setback, and a persistent feeling of not being seen or understood. Her mother's harsh expectations and her father's absence had left her yearning for stability, for someone who could see her for who she truly was. The car ride through the storm became a subtle dance of shared humanity. Jamal glanced at Emily, noticing how she clutched her hands together, trying to keep warm. He didn't push, but offered a quiet presence, a small comfort in the chaos. Emily in turn found herself sharing small fragments of her life, the late nights working to support her younger siblings, the quiet despair of feeling unseen. There was a moment when Jamal's hand brushed hers as he reached to adjust the heater. Neither pulled away, but a silent acknowledgement passed between them. It was a fleeting touch, yet it carried the weight of unspoken promises, trust, understanding, and the fragile hope of connection. For the first time in years, Jamal felt a warmth that had nothing to do with the heater, and Emily felt a spark of safety she had almost forgotten. The next day brought unexpected complications. As Jamal parked his Jeep in the community lot, he noticed an unfamiliar woman fiddling with the lock. Her aggressive demeanor and sharp words immediately set his instincts on alert. It was Mrs. Karen Whitfield, a notorious HOA enforcer in the neighborhood, infamous for overstepping boundaries and targeting anyone she deemed in the wrong. Before Jamal could intervene, Karen cut the lock and attempted to drive the Jeep away. But unbeknownst to her, the Jeep was parked as part of a police task force operation investigating local criminal activity. Within moments, uniformed officers surrounded the vehicle, startling Karen and leaving her fumbling for excuses. Jamal, initially horrified, found himself restrained by the officers, forced to explain the unusual circumstances. Meanwhile, Emily's personal struggles re-emerged. She had begun to feel a growing attachment to Jamal, but the chaos surrounding them reminded her of the dangers of opening up. Trust, for both of them, was a fragile thread. Misunderstandings arose. Jamal wondered if Emily's closeness was genuine or born out of desperation, while Emily questioned if he would ever truly let anyone into his guarded world. Their bond faced subtle, persistent tests. Neighbors whispered, rumors spread, and the external pressures of judgment and societal expectation weighed heavily. Jamal struggled with reconciling his sense of morality with the systemic injustices around him, while Emily wrestled with her own insecurities, afraid that her past would define her future. The snowstorm from the previous night became a lingering metaphor, a symbol of the emotional coldness each had yet to melt within themselves. The climax arrived in a series of quiet, intense moments. Jamal and Emily found themselves alone in the Jeep, parked on a deserted hill overlooking the city lights. Snowflakes drifted slowly past the windshield. For the first time they allowed themselves to confront the fears that had held them captive for years, fears of rejection, failure, and vulnerability. "I don't want to hurt you," Jamal admitted, his voice low but resolute. "But I've been hurt so much before. I don't know if I can trust again." Emily's eyes glistened, reflecting the snow outside. "I've been afraid too. Afraid of letting anyone see me. Afraid of being left behind. But with you, I feel safe. And I don't want to let that go." In that silent understanding, the storm outside transformed from a symbol of isolation into one of renewal. They held each other, warmth slowly spreading through the chill, realizing that love wasn't about perfection. It was about choosing someone even when fear loomed. The HOA incident faded into the background, no longer a source of tension but a reminder of the world's unpredictability. Jamal's moral compass and Emily's resilience had converged, showing them that trust and love could thrive even amidst chaos. The Jeep, once a scene of conflict, became a symbol of their shared journey, a vehicle that had carried them from fear into understanding, from isolation into connection. Weeks later, the snow had melted, leaving the city streets glistening under the early spring sun. Jamal and Emily walked together through the park, their hands entwined, their laughter echoing in the crisp air. Mia ran ahead, her joyous voice a testament to the healing that had taken place in their little family. The incident with Karen had become a story they recounted not with anger but with amusement, a reminder that even in the face of audacity, integrity and kindness prevail. They had weathered storms both literal and metaphorical, learning that the truest warmth comes not from the sun, but from human connection. Their story ended not with perfection, but with hope, resilience, and the quiet assurance that even when life tries to steal joy or disrupt trust, hearts that are willing to open can always find their way back to each other. In the end, Jamal and Emily learned that the greatest victories aren't those of conflict, but of compassion, courage, and the willingness to embrace the unknown together. This story is structured for cinematic narration with pauses for reflection, emotional beats, and descriptive imagery, suitable for a 30-plus minute YouTube video.